Now, you would, I guess, wonder about the significant investment in tourism as evidenced by the size of this building, by the fact that the Shire, in combination with DTI, pools money for marketing and business servicing activities. You may have had some discussion already about the value of tourism to our local economy and why it's so important. In fact, if you take out agriculture and viticulture, which are often combined in ABS statistics, viticulture just deemed to be one small part of the agricultural product, if you take those two out and think about viticulture as part of what viticulture is about as tourism, because a significant part of it is about wineries, cellar doors, restaurants, cafes, galleries, those types of things. So if you separate those two, then in fact tourism is the most important industry in our Shire. So normally it comes in second or third, but once you, as I say, separate those out, it is the most important part of our economy and a significant employer, not just obviously in those areas that you would think are most clear, like cellar doors, restaurants, attractions, tours, but also its flow-on effect to other local services and industries. So in fact, our town centre, the shops down there, your other types of services, depend a significant part of their annual income on the fact that there are visitors here, whether or not tourists, visitors are actually in their premises and buying their services from them directly. It has a very significant flow-on effect. The other really important thing to know about tourism and its contribution to our economy is to understand that it is very seasonal. And this might be something else that you've heard some discussion about. We have the highest level of visitation over the summer, and then it drops off, and then it peaks again during the Easter long weekend, and then it drops off to if you're imagining sort of these curves, drops off very significantly. And in fact, if local businesses can't generate their most significant part of their annual turnover in that period between Christmas and Easter, then they aren't going to survive. The simple fact is, if they can't earn what they need for the rest of the year, then they will go out of business. So the seasonality of tourism is a really significant factor when you think about employment, job security, impact on people's health and well-being. You know, you're working crazy over that summer period, working really long hours, 7 days a week, almost nothing. The impact on regular income, particularly for people who are working in casual or part-time work, of which there is a significant proportion working in tourism. The fact that they might be working like crazy over the summer and then find that they don't have that steady income over the winter. So you'll see businesses come and go as a result of that. The key parts of our tourism industry, food and wine, obviously represented from this space that we're currently located in, but also other really important niche areas in arts, whether it's through galleries but also through events. You may have heard some about what Denmark Arts does, particularly really important events that it runs and has targeted at off-peak periods or shoulder periods to try and drive the visitation during those periods. It's a really important part of what they do. So we see them as an important part of the tourism industry. Then you've got those products that would see themselves more traditionally as part of tourism. Things like the treetop walk, things like the Petland alpaca farm, which is a farm particularly favourite with families. Those types of attractions might traditionally see themselves in tourism. And then you've got tours. We've got winery tours, we've got eco tours, we've got fishing charters, horse riding, those types of products. The focus on the seasonality does impact to a certain extent on the type of product that emerges. You've got to have products which are able to weather that long winter period. And people do that in different ways, some by closing down, some by having a skeleton staff over those periods, others by diversifying their industry so that they focus on different things throughout the year. So different people develop different coping strategies, both from a personal perspective but also from a financial perspective. So that also drives a certain amount of innovation, I believe, in our tourism industry. It's innovation which occurs by necessity, if you like. I'd also like to talk a little bit about ecotourism because that's my passion and that's something that I'm very strongly involved in. As Nicole mentioned, I run a very successful ecotourism business with my husband called Out of Sight Tours. We run small group only, maximum of 5 people, four-wheel drive tours into West Cape Howe National Park. West Cape Howe is halfway between here and Albany. It's the southernmost point of Western Australia, so it's far south as you can go. Has anybody ever been there? No? Okay, all right, fabulous. The really interesting thing to know about West Cape Howe is that the cliffs down there, magnificent dolerite cliffs, dark black cliffs, very unlike the rest of the coastal scenery that you'll see around here. A lot of what you'll see is primarily granite and limestone. But it's dolerite out there, very dark, very black, sheer cliffs that drop about 80 to 90 metres straight down into the Southern Ocean, and in fact form a jigsaw puzzle with Antarctica and thereby demonstrate that separation of Gondwana land when the two continents split. So it's got very interesting geological history. It's very interesting from its biodiversity values as well. That intersection between geology, flora and fauna makes it a really important park. It's very difficult to get to. It's a deep, sandy four-wheel drive track, not for the faint-hearted, not for those who are inexperienced. A lot of people who come to this area don't have four-wheel drives, or if they do, they're your urban four-wheel drives that don't get scratched, don't go off-road. So what Dr. Dave does is take them out to the very edge of the cliffs, and then they do a walk out there where he talks about the geological history of that place, what makes it so significant. Talks a little bit about its Indigenous history, but more about its European history as well. As you may know, this coastline has a very long history with seafarers and maritime explorers. And then takes them out to the cliffs and then leaves them there, not forever, just for a while, to really just sit there and be at one with that place. The important thing about interpretation, we believe, is that it's not just always about talking. Sometimes it's just about being in a place, and that's an important part of what we do. So it's a full day tour, takes people out there, they then have lunch, afternoon tea, and then they come back in the afternoon. As I said, small group only. That's about minimising impact, that's about valuing and monitoring the ecological values of the area. We're very proud to be Advanced Eco Certified by Ecotourism Australia. We were the first tour business in the region to achieve Advanced Ecotourism certification. We're a carbon neutral business. We were the first business in this region to achieve carbon neutrality, and only the second tourism business in the entire state of Western Australia to become certified as carbon neutral. So we pay a lot of attention to sustainability in terms of what we do. As Nicole said, we have been very fortunate to win the Ecotourism Award at the WA Tourism Awards 3 years in a row, which means that next year we go into the Hall of Fame, the WA Tourism Hall of Fame. So that's something that we're very proud of, very exciting. We've also been successful at the national stage. Winners at the state level go on to the national level, and we've run the bronze medal at the national level, which for us is a really big deal because we're a very small business. We're up against some huge businesses in WA, let alone the country. So that's something we're very proud of. And we see ecotourism as a key part of the future of tourism in Denmark. One of the things about having such high levels of visitation in the summer and that really drop off at the end, that kind of seasonal factors that we've been talking about, is that it does have a huge impact on the environment, on local people and social cohesion. There is a tension which is inevitable, I think, when you suddenly find that on Boxing Day your population trebles. Local people can get resentful of that, while at the same time totally understanding the key significance of that huge influx of people for the local economy. It's a love-hate relationship, there's no doubt about that. But having those huge numbers of people does put a strain on our services, water and electricity. We've struggled over the years to address those issues. The local environment centre and green schools were really significant players in the Big Peak program to try and educate visitors as well as locals about conserving energy, being careful about what they did with water and energy usage. It also puts a strain on the physical environment, visitation into national parks, the way it impacts on full drive tracks, walking tracks, and other road systems. So there is a balance, I think, to be made there, and it's my very strong belief that ecotourism provides one of the keys to addressing those kinds of concerns. I think it's very clear that Denmark, as a community, wouldn't like to see some massive casino built down on the edge of Wilson Inlet. That's not part of our vision for our town or for the way we see tourism here. But low impact, sustainable tourism, which has a very strong focus on conservation and environmental sustainability, and that is in keeping with the values of the community, I think that's definitely the way to go. But that's often easier said than done. And that's the challenge for all businesses. And I think it's providing people who come here with a different way of thinking about their visitation. What am I doing here? Am I just coming here to drink wine and go to the beach and not really understand where I am, not think about my footprint, not think about my relationships with the people around me? Or is it really about giving people the opportunity to get to know what makes Denmark so lovely? And what you'll find is that probably, I don't know, half the population, that might be an exaggeration, but a significant proportion of the population of Denmark first came here as visitors, fell in love with the place, couldn't leave, had to come back. And I think that's what keeps us tied here, is that sense of place. That's really important. Of course, we don't want to see that destroyed. So that's probably enough from me, Nicole.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Any questions for Lenore?
Yes.
You said that you are carbon neutral, the tourism company that you're running. How do you manage to maintain that or get to being carbon neutral?
Yes.
You have to drive there and stuff.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's right. So we monitor all of our energy uses, whether it's electricity, water, fuel, and as part of our eco-certification, we adopt low-impact vehicle usage, and there's a whole range of protocols associated with that. And so we monitor all of those inputs so that we can actually measure fairly accurately our carbon footprint. We aim to reduce that over time, so we're constantly monitoring that.